Well, hello. You're listening to Profoundish. Happy Independence Day! If you're an American, this is a fun weekend. Grilling out, shooting off fireworks, and just being Americans. Today's a super laid-back episode. My co-host Weston Hasty and I are just going to be talking about our 4th of July memories together. And then after that, we're going to be playing the Mount Rushmore game, where basically we're given random topics, and we have to work together to decide the 4 most culturally influential and important things within that topic. Super fun, super chill. So grab your drinks, your grills, your American flags, whatever you use to celebrate, and let's get going. I don't know if this is original or not, but growing up, I had 2 older cousins, Jake and Steve. Love them dearly. And I looked up to them, right? They were older, they were cooler than me, and they did this, they called it like the physical song. And it was very short, but it was cough to the left, cough to the right, now scream. That's all it was. I don't know if it was...
I'm kind of disturbed.
I know, right? I don't know if it was from something, but they sang that all the time. And then I learned what a physical was not too long after that. And I thought, yeah, I want to scream.
Oh, I guess that makes way more sense now. I wasn't even thinking of like a doctor's physical exam. I was just, when you said like physical song, I was just like, let's get physical. Physical. Whatever that song is.
I was, that just randomly reminds me, do you have, this is a weird question, do you remember your first physical?
I doubt it. Again, brain knows so work when little child, but, I mean, I remember physicals as a youngin' and how uncomfortable that is, where you're like, I mean, especially if you're, I don't know how physicals go with women, but if you're a dude and you're just like, you're like probably mom, but some kind of parent in a room, and a doctor's just like, all right, drop your pants, kid.
Drop your kids.
Drop your kids.
See, if that guy was doing it, if he said that, I don't know what, that's hilarious. I remember vividly, but maybe I was way more nervous than you were. Because I remember I was talking to my mom about, I was so nervous. I didn't want, because when's the first time you have to do it, like 4th or 5th grade or something like that?
It's when you're pretty young. The earliest I can remember too, which made it extra awkward, was that I had a girl doctor.
Oh, you did?
Or is a girl doctor or a girl nurse? So whoever gave me a physical, the one that stands out the most in my mind, because I actually had a male pediatrician who normally saw me. Mm-hmm. But one physical that I especially remember is that I had this like girl doctor who had fingernails and very cold hands.
Oh, God. I had a man with hot, beefy sausage fingers. So quite the opposite. Well, here's what I remember. I remember like begging my mom, like, I don't want to do this. And she's like, you have no choice. You can't go into middle school unless you get a physical. And I remember like trying to really be smart, because with some things this could work, which was religious exemption for certain things.
Sure.
And I was like, Mom, is there any way? Like, I didn't say religious exemption because I didn't know what it was, but there was a couple shots that I didn't get. And it wasn't for religious reasons, but that's what she told the school. And, but anyway, so I said, Mom, could you do that thing that you did for the shots, but with the physical? And she's like, Alex, you're going to have to go. Okay. And I remember going in there and I was so nervous. And I was a shy kid. And I remember it vividly. I remember the doctor, in fact, no names are going to be named, but you probably at least know the doctor by proxy.
Okay.
So, but anyway, I went in there and, like, I remember I don't know, I think this is 5th grade, so around 10 years old. And I remember like asking him, hey, listen, he's like, okay, drop the kids, right? As they say, drop the kids.
Drop the kids.
And there's just, in hindsight, this is really weird, and it's weird in hindsight, but he was just being kind and respectful to me, which I really appreciate now looking back. But it's going to sound weird. So I said, I told him, like, I don't want to do this. I'm nervous. I don't want you to see my pee-pee, right? Or whatever I said. I don't want you to see it. And I said, can I like turn around? And then you just reach around.
It's like
I've never told the story before.
It's like not even that you don't want him to see it. You don't want to see him seeing it. That
That's exactly right. I've thought of it that way. So he obliged. I mean, like as I remember, he reached around and he. Oh my God! But see, like it sounds weird, but like now I'm thinking like if I were him and I were the doctor having to do that. I would want to do that too. Like, I don't want to embarrass this kid any more than I have to. If I can get what I need done out of that, then I'll do that. Makes the kid feel a little better.
So awkward. Like for the doctor, right? The doctor's done this like 10,000 times. They don't care. They're like a professional, whatever. But for the patient, right? When you talk about like needing consent, right, in order to do anything to a patient, and you've got this sort of awkward, embarrassed, like. Teen or preteen, whatever the situation, and like you can't just, as the doctor, you can't say, "Now listen, we have to do it this way. You have to, you have to do this because the doctor can't force you to do anything you don't want to do." So if that's like the stipulation that you give, it's either they can't continue with whatever they need to do, like if it were a procedure, for example. They would, if doing it backwards were impossible, they would just have to say, unfortunately, I just can't do it. But otherwise, if they can, it's like, well, I guess, yeah, if this is the awkward way we have to do it to see it through, then that's what will have to be done, I guess.
It's so weird when you're a kid and like, it's like, yeah, I was not thinking at all at 10 years old, oh, he's seen a million of these things, right? I'm not thinking that way. I'm thinking he's going to see mine, like,
right.
I don't want him to see mine.
It's a lot more personal.
And, but anyway, him and I got lunch after that and had a good time.
you both had lunch after that? I don't,
well, like, I said buy me dinner first, but he gave it to me, but he gave dinner after instead.
It's like, well, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll go have lunch. We'll go run through the Mickey D's. You can have a Happy Meal.
Now this is starting to sound wrong.
It's getting worse and worse. You can get the toy and the Happy Meal.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, for the slight chance that you're listening, anonymous doctor, thank you for being so respectful to me as a 10-year-old. I know that was probably weirder for you, but it was more comfortable for me.
I went
jokes aside.
I went to I almost said a church. I don't know why. I always had my physicals in churches. No, I went to a hospital.
Excuse me?
I know. I don't know why. For everyone at home, I don't know how well my brain is going to work for the rest of the day. I've already said drop your kids. I'm a little under the weather again, so brain no function. But anyway, I went to a much larger hospital. I almost said school this time. I went to a much bigger hospital in a nearby city instead of like the hometown or whatever. So they always had rotating like nurse. Like I was used to, since being a little kid, rotating nurses, doctors. I was kind of used to the hubbub of the bigger hospital. So I don't remember. I mean, I do remember being a little uncomfortable with aspects of the physical, such as the touching of the pee-pee. But
right.
That's a sensitive area, but everything else, height, weight, and, the breathing apparatus, all that stuff was fine. But when it got to the sensitive bits, I remember that being sort of an area of mild embarrassment or discomfort, but it was kind of like, well, it's a doctor. I'm in a hospital. Like, I'm safe here. I don't really want to be here any more than necessary, because I've never really liked hospitals, because, that's where all the sick people are. And it's just kind of like uncomfortable. But I don't know. I never fought that. If that's what they had to do, it was just like I'm in one of those little gowns or whatever. And it's like, all right, do what you got to do. And so we can get out of here. I never had an issue with shots. If you had to stick me with something, I was like, fine, stick me with it. I didn't want to look at it. I don't want to watch it go in. I still don't like that. I think my fight or flight would kick in and I'd like tense up or something. I don't know. So I just kind of do one of those 1,000-yard stares off into space and then, yep, just prick me. All right, off we go.
Right. Yeah, I know. Yeah, as years followed, I learned how to rationalize and it was okay. But yeah, that first year was tough. That reminded me though, with the with the shot, have you ever given blood before?
I've had my blood drawn. I've never specifically given blood.
Okay. So, but I mean, the feel is is the same, but
right.
Obviously, I've done that once. This is 5 or 6 years ago, and I remember working myself up about it. Not about like I'm afraid of needles. I mean, I definitely didn't want to look, but I was psyching myself out about passing out or something, because there was always kids like in our school when the blood drive came,
right?
Like there was always like that 1 or 2 students that would like pass out, and they were fine. It is what it is. Yeah. But I remember like psyching myself out, but not even getting close to it. They just gave me a little, bag of Cheez-Its, said, all right, just eat this for a little bit.
Well, hang on a second. You got free bags of Cheez-Its?
Yeah.
That changes the game. Maybe I should have given more blood.
Weston loves his Cheez-Its. Those baked ones are so good. Or the toasty ones, whatever they're called.
The toasty ones and also the white cheddar.
White cheddar is good. There's a new one. No, I'm a Cheez-Its freak on the Two Piece podcast. I think I named it my #1 favorite snack, I think.
I couldn't remember. I promise podcast. I've heard it, because actually as of today, I didn't realize. I was like, I was like one behind. I was like, oh, because you recently released an episode, and I didn't get to it right away. And then I looked it up to listen to it. I'm like, I'm one behind. I have to listen to 2. But I'm caught up now.
That's a lot of me and Steph.
I know, so I just listened to them back to back over a couple of commutes.
Boom.
Yeah,
it's a good little commute podcast. But so is Profoundish. Make sure you listen to Profoundish on your commutes. If you're not, you need to start.
You already are, I assume.
That's where I do a lot of my podcast listening. I'm always doing something. I'm driving, or I'm like washing the dishes or something. I think we've talked about this before, but I usually am not doing nothing. Like I'm not like sleeping to podcasts, because I'm going to miss what I'm hearing.
Right.
Some people do that. And like, I don't know if they consider that a listen, because that's not a listen. That's just a means to go to sleep, in my opinion.
I think it just depends on what the podcast is. Like some people have, because there's so many different kinds of podcasts out there, especially if you have like a podcast that's like very easy listening, like maybe one speaker doing like some nonfiction telling of something, right? Like bird facts or something. I don't know. I could easily fall asleep to that, because I know I've fallen asleep for years of my life watching the History Channel, doing some sort of whatever. Or like I like taking naps to Modern Marvels and stuff like that. So like definitely like stuff like that I could sleep to. I don't know what else there is that you'd sleep to. I don't know if there's just like lullaby podcasts. I guess that would just be music, but I think it just depends on the podcast. Like I think people could definitely fall asleep to some podcasts.
I definitely can, but I just feel like if I wake up the next day, I feel like I need to re-listen to this because I slept. But you know what I'm saying? Like I feel the same way about like with television shows, with phones. Now this is just a personal thing, but I'm like, no phone, no nothing. If I need to go pee, I'm going to pause it. I want to see what's in front of me. I don't want to miss something. Oh wait, what'd they say? Because sometimes I've seen this. I've seen this with multiple people I've watched shows with. There's like a crucial moment, just a quick little nod that the character makes, but it like leads to something.
Yeah.
And that's when the person next to me is like looking at their phone just for a split second. It's like, you just missed that.
Missed it. Yeah, I hate having to break my attention if I'm watching a show or movie, like Netflix or something. But if I am just watching like a Let's Play, then I'll just let that run. Like if I fall asleep to it or if I have to go to the bathroom, I'll just let it run if it's like a Let's Play. Because it's like, you might miss something, but like chances are it's long form. You're fine. But yeah, if it's a structured TV show or a structured movie or something, then I'll hit the pause.
That's the one thing actually that I actually had a good segue into our topic this week, but now you got me talking about this, so I'm gonna leave the segue behind.
Goodbye.
I'll bring it up
segue.
way later. Goodbye. Just flying off into the distance. I usually, my go-to old Let's Plays, because I'll do that. Like, I use, like, when I'm just for comfort, and I'll let it play in the background while I'm doing stuff. Those I won't pay attention to, too, kind of like you said. It's just kind of there. For me, usually it's old school, like, Game Grumps, like, very beginning of Aaron and Dan Game Grumps.
Yeah.
So, which was almost a decade ago now, which is crazy. But anyway, like, because, you know, that's when I got into them a lot. And so anyway, so now it's nostalgic. It's weird to think, but like that stuff is so old now. It's kind of like, oh yeah, I remember like being here, like watching this series, and
I love some of the classic Grumps because I used to watch a lot of Grumps back then, and still every now and again catching an animated, and it's like I know what episode that came from. I was on the ground floor.
Yep. I know, it's cool. It's like I was there, you know, and it's funny too, because some of them, especially the older ones, like that are the animations that are based off older ones, you can hear the game a little bit too. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that exact spot. Man, that was back when, like, I don't know, like I still from time to time I'll catch something that they do, usually a one-off. There's not really much that I'm interested in long term now. I don't know if it's just because I don't know. I still like them. There's other things I'm into on YouTube now, I guess.
They come by my YouTube every now and again. I'm watching them play some dumb giraffe game right now.
Dumb giraffe? It's like a simulator or something?
You play as like a giraffe that can't like walk straight, and you have to like walk on these like paths with holes in them, and if you fall, you die.
Oh, so like a physics kind of game?
Yeah, Aaron's losing his absolute mind. Like, I think they the second episode, I think they've done like 5 or 6 of these. The second episode, they don't beat a single level.
Classic. That's great. You know what I dipped out on? I never really got into their version of Good Mythical Morning, whatever that's called. Powered.
Yeah, the
power something.
The 10-minute power hour.
10-minute power hour. I never really got into that. I don't know. I'm sure it's funny, but I don't know.
So some of them are hit and miss for me. Some of them feel like over the top in the weirdest way, and then some of them I think are pretty funny. I don't know. They're having fun.
I'm sure. And of course I've always loved their chemistry. Did you know that I saw them live? I saw their live show.
Yeah, did you go? Did you go at the same time, or was this a separate time with Gala?
Yeah, I went with Gala. This was in 2016. They were playing up in Chicago.
I thought it was you too.
And it was one of our little dates we like to go on every once in a while. Every once in a blue moon, we call them little dates.
You steal her away from Dave for a little bit.
Just for a little bit. And it was anyway, it was super fun. In fact, weird circle here. In Man Cats, when you go, I love this town, and it shows the city.
Yeah.
We recorded the skyline that night, like after the show, before we went back home. We drove outside the outskirts of town, got by the lake, and just took a picture or recorded it for a few minutes.
That way,
and stuff.
you
that
can
was
make
all from
the whole Game Grumps trip a business expense. You had to do it for the skyline shot.
Man, that really could have been. I wish I would have been thinking that. Well, it wasn't my budget; it was theirs. It's their taxes, not mine.
I don't know if you guys were into itemizing your taxes at that point. Anyway, I know I wasn't.
I wasn't either. I just recently started. But hey, listen, speaking of the History Channel that you mentioned 7 minutes ago, it's the beginning of July, and when you mentioned History Channel, I thought, Founding Fathers, right? Happy Independence Day!
Woo! Is that this one?
It is this one, right?
I think so. Is it July 2nd right now? I'm sick, guys. I'm sick. I don't know what day it is.
This is the one. Yeah.
This is the one.
This is the one. Yeah. I thought it'd be kind of fun to just talk about some experiences. And I do have like a very laid back game for us to play in the second half here, but it's like super laid back.
Fantastic.
That's kind of in theme with this, but I wanted to talk to you about kind of our memories, because as we've established numerous times, we grew up in the same area, and I don't have a lot of 4th of July memories with you. I've got some fireworks memories with you.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about your 4th of July traditions growing up. What were those like?
I don't remember having like a massively big like 4th of July tradition. I know, like hot dogs and grill outs and the 4th of July event over by where we lived, right? We'd go see the fireworks, but they also had like during the day like fair type stuff going on, so you could go get like I don't know, like a funnel cake, and they'd have, I don't even remember what all they had. They have, because in band we'd have the 4th of July parade, so I would march.
Yep.
And then there'd be like shopping and a bunch of teenagers running around
like
doing God knows what, and
and the cool kids that were like a little bit older, at least to me at the time, I thought the cool kids were the ones that were on like the golf carts. They were driving around in golf carts. I thought that was super cool. Like I wanted to be one of those kids.
There'd always be several golf carts flying around. I was never one of the cool kids.
Me neither. That's the thing. It's one of those things where you had, if you had to be there sort of thing. But yeah, in our little area, that still to this day, the fireworks festival in that area is the big thing that everyone in that place goes to. So
yeah.
The golf carts were a big thing. For me, it was really going to that festival, but it was an all-day thing. We got there before the band marched. We stayed all day. I usually hung out with this is interesting. My memories stick out very well with this, because I actually, for quite a few years, hung out with a specific group of friends that I only would really hang out with that day. Very interesting. All friends that at least you'd be familiar with. I just think it's bizarre, because I had much closer friends, but I don't know if they were doing their own things, but we always dedicated this day, because one thing we would always do is we'd go to the corner store.
Yeah.
And they'd have, if you go inside, they have like that huge display of like all these jelly beans. So we'd always like get like wasted on jelly beans, like jelly babies or whatever they're called. Or jelly bellies. Is that what they're called? Jelly belly?
I know. Yeah. Jelly bellies is a thing.
I think it's jelly bellies. Anyway, so we would like get all those. I'd always do the suicide bag, so I'd put like the popcorn and the strawberry and all the weird flavors all together and just eat them.
God,
and we'd run around. I know, right? So that was so much fun. There was always live music, and then the fireworks were always, to my knowledge, and I went there a few times in my adult years. They've always seemed pretty impressive for the area. It's a small area, so I've always been pretty impressed by the fireworks. Do you have any like place that you've been to where like to this day like these were the best fireworks, or does it all kind of blend together for you?
The best fireworks that I can think of in the area, definitely there. There's another small town there's a couple small towns nearby that do their own fireworks as well that I've been to over the years. Sometimes they're on the 4th, sometimes they're not on the 4th, but they're like around the 4th. But that one was always probably the best fireworks in the area. If I've seen better somewhere else, maybe traveling, I can't think of where it would have been off the top of my head, because I do like fireworks. But yeah, they always put on a really good show, because they would raise money basically all year for that event. It's like their one big event they do. Yeah,
and it definitely pays off. I had one of my first dreams come true happened there for me. I'm not exaggerating there either. My one of my like small town dreams when I lived at home was to play at the 4th of July festival in our town, right? Because there was always it was never like huge bands that played there, but it was always good bands, and I just remember thinking that. And then one year, I believe this was 2016, maybe 2017. I was in a band called Jawbone Stew, and we played. And to me and a friend of mine in the group, we were both like, this is kind of like a small dream come true. Like I remember growing up watching these bands, going, I want to play here. There's so many people. It's just a fun time. Right out by the lake. It's great. So it's kind of weird because like in some ways that like for me that's like the first so far like big dream to come true for me, and but actually feeling that in the moment was actually kind of surreal. It's like, am I really here right now? And just to me, it was a huge accomplishment, and I felt really good. So, yeah, I don't know if you were there that year, if you saw us play or not. The years come and go, but
yeah, I think I did, because obviously we would have known, because my whole family would like listen to your stuff when you were around. We could catch you or whatever. I feel like
you guys are very supportive.
Yeah, I feel like we would have been around to listen. I don't know if we were like necessarily sitting in front or whatever, like just listening, or if we were off doing things while you were playing, but obviously we could hear you. I don't remember for sure. That feels like another lifetime ago. Until you said something, I forgot that, yeah, you played at it for Jawbones too. You said 2016. It feels like it should be longer ago or something. Like that feels like another lifetime. But
I know that's just because of what is time.
Because what is time?
I remember the year before, right? You know, I remember the year before. There was a band playing that wasn't great, and like they were mediocre, like they were fine, they weren't great, and we were playing out of our like buddy's backyard in town, but like 2 blocks over, and I remember just like kind of wanting to be like, let's just blast these speakers. I mean, we didn't, but I'm like, just so we can show them this is what it needs to sound like. But anyway, we played, and we had like a small crowd, right, just kind of from passersby, because people walk around this whole town. And
right.
And so yeah, we had people come by, and then like next year it happened, so that was kind of cool. But speaking of fireworks, Weston, do you remember anything about the story about when we nearly let's just say blew your kids off?
Yeah,
to circle back to the beginning of the episode, do you remember anything about that?
I think we were at our buddy Justin's backyard.
Yes, we were
out in the country. I believe that's where this took place. And we were lighting off fireworks. Mostly, like, it wasn't anything big or crazy. It was mostly, like, bottle caps and stuff. But I don't remember what this one was exactly that we tried to... I think it was like one of those that you stick in the ground or something, light it, and it goes up. And I was sitting in a one of those camping, like, foldable chairs or whatever, and someone stuck a rocket in the ground and lit it, and it didn't go up. It went sideways. And it landed in my lap. And this is like Alex's like favorite memory of me just flying out of that chair, transcending this physical plane to evacuate that chair, because as you might imagine, I didn't feel like having my lower extremities bombarded with explosives that day. Needless to say, I got out of there just fine. I escaped with my life. But
I'm hearing remember those old videos that like they're just flying through space? I just pictured you flying through space.
Yes, that was me.
Like,
yeah, just
like
casually,
the lady that falls asleep at the mall, you know, and then they like Photoshop her in like outer space,
traveling through the cosmos. We were. Actually, we did a couple. We did a couple fireworks at friends' houses throughout the years. Now that I think about it, but yeah, that was definitely one of them. And I don't remember how much stuff we fired off, but it was a good time. I just had the one brush with death. That's all.
Other than that, it's probably my only physical Weston memory that I have. Like I have thousands of memories with you that I cherish deeply, but I only have one that's like a physical, like, remember when Weston did this physical thing, and that's it. That's when he flew in the air because he had a bottle or a bottle rock. What's it called?
It was like a bottle rocket or something. But I would say you probably have 2 memories of me, and one is that, and the second is falling into the river for Julius Caesar. But I know you were always very proud or happy that I committed to that. So I feel like you probably have 2 physical memories. But
you're right. With that one, you just jogged my mind. You're right. Yeah. Actually, you know what we need to do? One of these episodes is have a Julius Caesar episode.
Where we just reenact Julius Caesar as our characters. I played as...
I'll print out the scripts.
I played as Cassius. You played very briefly as...
the guy that partners with
Brutus.
Antony.
Was my name Antony? I think you were Antony, because he partnered with Brutus. Brutus was our buddy Logan.
Brutus.
So I think because you take the stage right after Brutus, and you're like, friends, Romans, countrymen.
Yeah, that's right. Lend me your ears. That's right. Classic Alex. I'm hardly on there, but when I am, I give one of the most like iconic lines in in the whole thing,
which we
the real
parodized into a musical lyric instead.
That's right. Yeah, very topical, at least at the time. But that was good. But anyway, that's a different story. I did want to share one other fireworks memory, which is, you might have been thinking about this. A couple years after that, when we were all a little bit older and had a little more money in our pockets, do you remember when our big group of friends all like pitched in, like we hopped the border?
Yeah, we hopped the border,
and
as we all, like every Illinoisan knows that you cannot legally buy fireworks in this state if you're just a rando person. Right. You just can't do it. So we all just crossed the border over into Indiana, where literally the border has zillions of fireworks stores because
they know what they're doing.
Everyone knows what's going on. We bought a bunch of fireworks and then hopped the border back.
Yeah, but I remember one year, and I wanted to keep this tradition going, but I think we only did this once. But I also think we were starting to go separate ways by that point. But we all pitched in at least $100, if not more. But I know that we...
collectively we all spent... No, I was just going to say, collectively, we all spent like a few $100s on fireworks.
I was going to say, I was pretty sure, we spent quite a bit, so we got a couple really big ones, and we did shoot them off more safely, at least compared to the time before. But because I was out at another friend of ours, I think it was Bennett.
Yeah.
And it was a piece of his dad's land or something like that.
Right, because he owned some farmland, so we were out in the middle of nowhere.
Right, and we were just shooting those things off. That was the bigger crew, but that was a lot of fun, too, I remember.
That was fun. It went too fast for all the money that we spent. But it's going to be, because it's like, obviously this wasn't a massive, like, these different events that we were talking about earlier where they've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on fireworks. So obviously it was only going to last so long. It went too fast. But, it was our more official, bought some bigger level bomber boys to fire off into the sky, and
it was fun. It was fun. I like now what I would do if we had the same budget, I would get just one big one and then get a bunch of like small to medium ones, so we have like that one big finale to look for, so it goes longer.
I want $1,000 to blow on one singular nuclear warhead. Just fire up. just one big one. Light up the sky.
Like we get all of our friends together, we get a bunch of drinks, we're all sitting there, we're all ready to go. All right, we're rubbing our hands together, let's go, and then it's over. It's done.
So with a couple of drinks, it's all getting around together in a circle. Like, let's get as close to drunk as we can before we fire off one firework that will destroy us all.
I like that idea better, that we get together to do the fireworks, but since we only have one, we're just drinking a lot just to try and just get there just to enjoy one. That's a funny idea. But you know what's a funnier idea?
What's a funnier idea?
Taking a commercial break.
That's hilarious.
Profoundish is brought to you in part by Alex Duquette Medleys. I make theme song medleys, which is where I take a bunch of theme songs and mash them up into one bite-sized song. From Nickelodeon to Adult Swim, I cover it all. So, if you want to take a fun, nostalgic trip, search my name, Alex Duquette, on YouTube, or go to alexduquette.net.
Profoundish is brought to you in part by Magic Man Mo, a gaming YouTube channel run by me. We stream and we do variety Let's Plays. Check out a short stream compilation to see if it's something that you're going to be into. It's a lot of fun. I made it, so I know. That's Magic Man Mo on YouTube.
I was trying to think of some way to make this really laid back and chill, but kind of in theme with America, Independence Day, independence, founding fathers, right? Okay.
America.
Here's what I was thinking. I got some topics here, just random topics. I pulled them myself, but they're going to be picked in a randomized order. We may not go through all of them. And I thought we could play the founding fathers, right? The Mount Rushmore game. where
Mount
basically
Rushmore
we're given like what is your Mount Rushmore of this topic?
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? So just as a little recap, just in case, this isn't, for people listening, this isn't necessarily always going to be your favorite top 4 things, but the things that you see as the most prominent in terms of like just relevance, importance to whatever that medium is. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, like you said, it's not necessarily your favorite, but like Mount Rushmore is like for the founding. Well, like one of them's Abe Lincoln, so it's not founding father, but like 4 very prominent American,
important, presidents,
like cornerstone, influential, etc.
So I thought it'd be fun if you and I just kind of just loosely just kind of chat and just kind of come up with maybe our we can either do them together or we can both have our own, just kind of come up with them on the fly. I don't really care. But I thought that'd be fun to do. And it's kind of, I mean, there's a slight correlation there, but the topics are all over the place. So,
sure.
So why the heck not? It's easy. So here's the first topic here. We'll just kind of go into it. So here's our first Mount Rushmore that we can both come up with here. And it's celebrities who are known for going crazy.
I mean, come on. First face is Charlie Sheen.
Okay, I was thinking Charlie Sheen too, so we're on the same page. All right.
Right. I have 2 people that immediately come to my mind when you're like just off the rails celebrities. They lost their crap. It's Charlie Sheen and for a while Britney Spears.
Britney Spears.
She had her whole shaved head era where people were like, she's crazy.
I've got a third addition to Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
What about Kanye?
Has Kanye ever not been crazy, though? I guess it's not people that went crazy.
He had like 15 years of a career before he went crazy. So yes, he went crazy, but I mean, this is so loose, it doesn't really matter. But when I thought of this, I thought of Kanye. I definitely thought of Charlie Sheen first. So,
I am going to say that if we put Kanye West into our Mount Rushmore, you have to admit that we're putting a bathroom attendant on our Mount Rushmore.
And Profoundish lore. He's a
Profoundish lore. I think the title. Yeah, I think the title was "He was the best bathroom attendant" or something like that.
Go check out that video.
That's one of our earlier-ish ones.
Yeah, that was fun. Because that was another in our universe within Profoundish where we're slowly building this town. But I'm trying to think here. What about like, I don't know, for a while Lindsay Lohan kind of went crazy, didn't she?
Yeah, we could go Lindsay Lohan. I feel like Lindsay Lohan's like era was a little bit before mine. Like I wasn't really paying attention to her during the crazy. You know what I mean? She's like a 90s.
Yeah,
type thing, which we could still put up there. But I was trying to think if there's anything else, like anyone a little bit more
prominent,
contemporary that we could put up there. But yeah, Lindsay Lohan definitely. I almost like the only other crazy person I can think of is only because I'm thinking of Pirates of the Caribbean is like Johnny Depp. I'm just literally thinking of his character. That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because Captain Jack Sparrow himself. Nah. I mean, between him and like Kanye West, I'd pick Kanye West any day. I don't know. I'd say that's a decent Mount Rushmore, right? You got Kanye, you got Britney, you got Charlie, and you got Lindsay.
I guess Charlie Sheen is like 90s as well. So like if he can go up there, Lindsay Lohan can go up there. I'm okay with that then.
You know what's weird about this is that they all end in like it's Charlie, Lindsay, Kanye. I don't know. Might be something to it. I had to force that one.
Really stretching it here.
All right. Next topic here.
I guess he has the Yeezys, right? Aren't those his?
I think so.
Who owns Yeezys? I think that was Kanye,
those are shoes, right?
Yeah, those are shoes.
That's about all I know.
Who is... I'm just going to type in, who is Yeezy?
I think that's Kanye.
Yeah, Kanye West. I thought he made those. Yeah, that's He collabed with Adidas to make Yeezys. I was making sure I wasn't completely out of touch with the kids.
Right.
I don't wear fancy shoes like that. I wear dad shoes.
We talked about that in our, I believe, our second episode, or technically episode 1. We have a 0 episode as well, but check that out. We talked about our clothes shopping habits. A lot of plugs. Right. So our next topic is non-chocolate based candy. So I have one that's like for chocolate related candy too, but this is non-chocolate candy. What would our Mount Rushmore be for that? Like what is defining? Like what is the defining like fruity kind of non-chocolate candy?
Well, because it doesn't have to be fruity. Like, you know, there's toffee.
No, it doesn't have to be.
There's caramel. There's Laffy Taffy. I guess that's kind of fruity usually, but I was thinking like when you think fruity. Yeah, Laffy Taffy's on there. I used to be really into Laffy Taffy. I'm really not into a lot of candies that like chewy candies that stick to your teeth. I'm not really into that anymore.
Yeah, not these days. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just. I don't know if I'm just older and like I'm afraid my teeth are gonna come out of my gums. We talk about that actually in our dreams, like episode or whatever about like dreams about teeth falling out of your face,
which is very common.
Which apparently is way more common than I thought. Yeah,
I would say no. This is classic, right? It's been around for a long time. But what about? I think one of them maybe should be like, I mean, because it's classic, gummy bears or gummy worms. Maybe one of the two.
You know what? I love that idea, especially the sour ones. That was my go-to. Like, if rarely did my family ever get like snacks at like a movie theater, but I loved sour gummy worms at a movie theater.
Oh, that's a great combo. Well, honestly, too, like gummy worms, whether they're sour or not, like that, I think all ages enjoy those. That's just I don't know, maybe because they've been around for so long, but I think those should take a place. And I'll do worms. I prefer worms over the bears.
I don't know if I've had more of one or the other. Worms, I just feel like I have more of a memory with. But
right,
I like that. I like gummy worms. Jolly Ranchers.
You brought up. Ooh,
Jolly Ranchers are a classic one.
They are.
They do stick to the teeth, so they kind of have that sort of Laffy Taffy, like, but they're not chewy. You do just suck on them.
Those are good though. Well, even Laffy Taffy, I think, is pretty prominent.
Yeah.
But, like, if we had to choose between, we don't have to, but, like, Laffy Taffy or Jolly Ranchers, which one do you think is more deserving on Mount Rushmore? Because out of those two, I'd probably say Laffy Taffy. It's not my favorite. So? I think so. Like, I don't know. I just think that's I don't know if it's a classic candy. I know it's old, but...
I think when we talk about Mount Rushmore, like you said, talking about like cornerstone candies, I think you might be right. Laffy Taffy kind of has its own entire genre to itself of candy.
Yeah.
So I think Laffy Taffy could definitely go on the Mount Rushmore of candies, of non-chocolate candies.
Okay, so we got Laffy Taffy. We have, what was the first one we said?
Gummy worms.
Gummy worms. I just thought of one.
Yeah.
What about like suckers or lollipops or like Tootsie Pops?
Yeah, we've got to have some kind of sucker up there. Tootsie Pop, I don't know will count because the Tootsie part's chocolate. Yeah. But
they have the bubblegum ones.
They do. Oh God, actually memory
those
unlocked.
So
I forgot
good.
about that. Oh yeah, I used to love
called, like, Bubble
those.
Pops or whatever.
Back because I forgot about those because I hate gum now because I don't like chewing because I have a jaw thing. But my jaw clicks. I can pop my jaw in and out. It clicks. So chewing gum is just wildly uncomfortable. But anyway, but back in the day as a kid, the suckers with the gum in them. Oh, I remember those.
So should we just kind of be generic and just say suckers? You think?
Probably. Because I don't have any experience with the massive like flat lollipops that you see in like cartoons where like the kids like got a massive lollipop or whatever.
Those are real though.
Sucker. Yeah, those are real.
They can get big.
I think the only time I'd ever seen those ever is as like a novelty at a confectionery. Yes, that's the word. Sure.
Confectionery.
confectionery.
We're gonna go with it. Those three are good. I don't know, like, because I'm having trouble sometimes deciphering what's just my personal favorite and what's actually huge, like, or not huge, but just that just belonging on this list.
Oh,
what do you think about? Oh, you got one?
I was just thinking something chalky, right? Like either Smarties or like those darn chalk hearts that you get for Valentine's Day.
Oh, I love chalky candy. Oh my god.
Yeah.
You got
I think there was besides Smarties, I think there was one called Sweet Tarts, which is kind of like Smarties.
Sweet Tarts were good. Oh, then you got Lifesavers. Think about Lifesavers. I don't know if those quite fit, maybe hit that same status, but with the chalky stuff, I would say out of all those, probably the most iconic would be Smarties, probably.
In my mind, it is. That's what I always saw as a kid for the most part. Like I said, Sweet Tarts were common as well, but I feel like Smarties were maybe more common.
I love Smarties. What do we think? That's a good other kind of genre of candy that we didn't touch on yet. It kind of I think fills out the Mount Rushmore nicely.
Yeah, that gives us something gummy. That gives us something chalky. That gives us something like hard candy with
like
the sucker.
Hard, yep.
What was the other one that even said?
Gummy one.
Laffy Taffy.
Gummy one. Or Laffy Taffy. Sorry, that's what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, Laffy Taffy's got the jokes on it. That's always fun.
That's right. You peel over the little label and read a really terrible joke. And terrible as it's just like it's good for a single ha.
It's bad. Yeah.
Ha.
Yeah, literally one ha, and like usually it's more just like an acknowledgement, like a
I understood that joke. I'm not
that's
laugh.
exactly right. Yeah, yeah. I understand this, but yeah, it's okay. That's hilarious because it's true. So next up is a national store chain. So it's just like national store retailers, like not grocery stores necessarily, but like stores that these stores can have groceries in them. You know what I mean? But just like big stores.
Sure.
This one probably is going to be kind of easy.
Yeah. I mean, like the
Go
obvious
ahead,
one
list
is
them off.
The obvious one is going to be like Walmart, probably, right? Like that's just when you think go shopping generically, like just it's a supercenter, everything's in it.
Yep.
Obviously, if you were more of like a Kmart or like type person in years past, but I don't know, Walmart's has kind of like superseded them in a lot of ways. But if you kind of like go up like half a class and you're like a Target person, I would say Target as your two like big supercenter like retail places. I think Walmart and Target.
No, I have another one here. So I think those are mainstays, especially for like current ones. But remember, these can be stores of old, stores of new. And what I'm thinking is for so long, a staple was Sears.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say Macy's.
Sears doesn't exist anymore. But, Macy's too, though.
Macy's has the Macy's Day Parade. They were huge before like Walmart and stuff took over. Sears still exists. Sears is still around.
Yeah, okay, yes, but Sears is a shell of what it used to be. But what I'm saying is that Sears used to be like the catalog Christmas store other than Macy's.
You're right. Sears and Macy's catalog was a massive thing in days of past and days of yore.
Yeah, but I mean they were huge. I mean, that's a pretty solid 4 actually if you put Macy's, Sears, Walmart, and Target.
Yeah, the only other thing I would say is like if you wanted to replace maybe Target with something else, if there's anything else that's like really like old and like impactful in a lot of ways. But that's but I liked your
old and impactful are Macy's and Sears because Macy's is old too. Like they're both old. Yeah, I don't know. I would say for now that's probably a solid 4 because anything else I think of is either partially local or just doesn't quite, have the same, I think, long-term reputation that these 4 stores have. I think that's a pretty good 4.
Okay, I'll take that. Nothing else is like immediately jumping out to mind.
Right, but kind of like you said, the only one that I maybe would switch out is Target. Nothing against Target, but like I don't know if it's just because it's younger, at least compared to the other 3. But I don't know. I think it's good. I think it's solid.
Okay.
All right.
I was like, Target's the one where it's like I put it up there because of its sort of memeability for like middle class. Like the meme is like middle class like white girls like love Target, right?
Yeah, it's
That's
very
like
white,
the
basic
thing.
white girl thing. Yeah,
But
yeah.
like, so that I know it's popular and it like exists in the cultural conscience, but I don't know how much of an impact specifically Target has had. I know growing up, I liked Target a lot, so a little bias there.
Yeah, me too. I used to love the dog when they still did the dog back in the day.
Yeah, I think his name was Spot with the target over his eye.
Now it's just isn't it now just like a big red circle?
I think
everything's
so.
simple now. All branding and logos
all
are very
character,
simple.
Yeah, all character had to be removed from all branding.
Yep.
We had to go sleek and modern, and like we're all robots now.
Pretty much. So here's our next one.
Yeah.
We got, this is going to be interesting. I'm curious how you and I are going to match up on this. 90s and or early 2000s cartoons.
Ooh.
I think we should, I know it's not your favorite show of all time, but we got to put SpongeBob on there.
Yeah, if you're thinking like Mount Rushmore for impact and like meaningful, I think SpongeBob probably has to go there. I mean, it's still so wildly popular and meaningful to new generations of people. So probably SpongeBob. I think you can't be remiss adding Rugrats to the bunch.
I was thinking Rugrats. I was, because that was a pioneer in the Nickelodeon days to begin with. Like, so that I think that has a pretty good place. And it's one of those things where, like, obviously it's not still on today, but I think just its importance at the time was I don't think it can't be overstated. But besides those two, I'm trying to think like on Cartoon Network side. What's on Cartoon Network that would be considered that same? Because there's so many good shows. Like, I'm talking in the early days. I mean, I loved Powerpuff Girls and Dexter's Lab. I don't know if those are quite at the same cultural status.
Powerpuff Girls might be in a lot of ways. It actually ended up making a lot of spin-offs and it inspired a lot of people. But
that's true.
I'm also stuck on actually just Pokemon Indigo League was massive.
Oh,
I remember what they aired on.
I'm not even a Pokemon guy.
I don't remember if that was
I think
Cartoon
that was on
Network or not.
That was on WB.
Oh, okay, no, that sounds right.
Yeah, it was on WB. I remember that specifically. I loved Pokemon. I mean, it's Pokemon. How could that not go on there, right?
Right. Like, I mean, Pokemon.
I know it's known for other
now.
facets, but like, I think I discovered Pokemon from the show, and then I got into the cards, and I, funny enough, never played the games, but I did the other two things. So I don't know. I think that that kind of has to go on there because look where it's at now. Look, it's got it's huge. it's like one of the biggest money making franchises. Period.
And so, I think too, just in terms of cartoon shows specifically, it's anime enough that if you are an anime fan, Pokemon probably helped bring that to the West a little bit. It's not your Dragon Ball Z or anything like that, but like I think in a lot of, since it's such a big genre, if you're a big fan, you might owe Pokemon just a little bit to helping cater in anime to the West, maybe. Just as a side thing.
I can totally track with that. That was my first exposure to it, and then later on it was Dragon Ball Z, and then a few more things for me. But we already know not much. I'm the guy that wants to get into anime but just can't. I'm that guy.
I'm the guy that usually chooses really bad anime to watch, and I spend the whole time hating it. I've got a couple of my classics that I've watched that I enjoyed. Your Cowboy Bebops, your Full Metal Alchemists, but I've had my fair share of stinkers that I've watched all the way through for no apparent reason.
Well, you started. You might as well finish it. Finish all 600 episomes.
If it's 600 episodes long, if it's Naruto length, I'm out. All right. If it's Naruto or One Piece length, I'm out. No, I'm not doing it.
Okay, so that's a good solid 3. So we got SpongeBob, we got Rugrats, we got Pokemon. I mean, that's a big 3.
That's a big 3. Were we talking all
What's
cartoons?
going to sit up there with them? Yeah, just 90s and 2000s. Oh, wait.
Or was it just shows? Because now I'm realizing we have 3 cartoons because we were both young in that era. Is it cartoons? Okay.
The way you phrased the question, or the way I heard the question, you phrased it fine. But the way I heard it, I thought you meant like children's shows. This is just cartoons. So what about The Simpsons?
When did The Simpsons first air?
Late 80s. But it got huge in the 90s.
Yeah, I was curious how long it was running, because I'm like, I feel like it was older than the 90s, and I was like, how much older? Okay. I'm saying it debuted originally on the Tracy Ullman show in 1987.
Tracy Ullman show.
Okay.
Yeah. But it really didn't.
Okay.
And then it got, oops, I just knocked my chair over. It got huge in like the 90s. Like that was peak Simpsons.
Then I think we'd have...
It's The Simpsons, I mean.
Yeah, it's The Simpsons. I think we'd have to put it down because The Simpsons is like, in a lot of ways, a global phenomena and basically like synonymous with Americana, with American culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I think,
I mean, that's a big thing to say, but you're right.
Yeah, speaking of 4th of July, America, The Simpsons for a lot of people is like America. So I think we should say The Simpsons goes on Mount Rushmore.
I think, but it sits pretty with them in terms of just, I mean, cultural influence. I mean, think about it. You got The Simpsons, SpongeBob, Rugrats, and what was the third one we said? I always forget the 4th one.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, SpongeBob, Rugrats, Pokemon. Indigo League.
Pokemon.
And
I mean...
The Simpsons. I think that's a pretty solid 4. And, like, The Simpsons, right? Like, I know they don't need to be defended any further, but, like, Family Guy is a massive hit now. I don't think there would be a Family Guy if there wasn't ever a Simpsons.
Exactly. I mean, The Simpsons was really the kind of the dawn of... it was the beginning of, like, adult-oriented animated shows. And it kind of changed the game. It was completely out of left field at the time. And a very pseudo, quote-unquote, realistic look into the family home, too. You know, like the real dysfunctional family. It didn't just, that was in a world of the super fun-loving 80s sitcoms where all the families are smiling and there's always a happy ending, like this was kind of like the...
Meanwhile, Homer is
family
really
really
strangling
like.
Bart.
Right, exactly. It was kind of like, it was like the anti-sitcom, the anti-family show, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I think, definitely impact there. I think that's a solid 4 for sure.
I think it's a solid 4. There's so many more shows I feel like I could add, but when it's only 4, it's got to be that, I think.
I know. That's why I like it. It can only be 4. We'll do a handful here more if you got a little extra time.
I do.
All right. I do. I'm sick. What else am I going to do?
I'm not doing much else. When we're done here, I'm just going to go back to drinking water. Maybe I'll scrounge out some food and then slap an ice pack on my head and just lie down.
Just lay it all out. So what about electronic devices? I kept that vague on purpose.
I feel like I've never owned one of these, and I don't know if it deserves being on Mount Rushmore, but as like word association, as soon as you said that, I was like Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchi.
I
was not going to go there. I never owned one either, but I mean, I know a lot of people like our age did, right? Wasn't it like a big thing in the 90s or 2000s?
I think Tamagotchis were they more 90s, like late 90s? I'm not sure. Like I said, I never owned one. Tamagotchi release. Because
that was like the little thing, like you had like a little character and like I don't know much about it, to be honest.
They were released by Bandai in 96. So yeah, they were like a late 90s. And they survived into the early 2000s, but like that was kind of like a big thing at that point.
So that's interesting that you went there. Maybe we'll put that on the back burner right now, because I'm thinking one of them has to be the cell phone.
Right. That's, I think, the more obvious. Like that one, That one deserves a spot because it's radically changed how everyone literally lives their lives now.
Yeah. So that one's got to be there. I mean, I'm also thinking, though, like, what about the television? That's an electronic device.
Yeah, if you're talking about electronic devices of any kind, televisions were massive. I mean, like, I was like, throw away the Tamagotchi. I don't know why, like, that's the first thing that came to my mind, but it did. But if you talk about more generically, yeah, cell phone, TV, the radio, right? Like, before TV, the radio was, like, huge in everyone's homes. And then TV killed radio. You know, TV killed the radio star. But that was big. And now, on average, people own many TVs and, like, no radios. But
yeah, no, it's funny how that works. Well, I mean, I guess if we're going that, I mean, I think the big four is obvious because the final one would be like the personal computer. Right?
I think so. I think if it's just electronic devices in general, yeah, cell phone, TV, radio, personal computer. I mean, yeah.
There's nothing else that's gonna quite hit the same.
Could you imagine having this Mount Rushmore, like not having computer and it's got Tamagotchi?
We lose all of our listener base. Oh my gosh, these things are cute though.
They're little egg-shaped keychain type things, sure. And they come in different colors. And
tell me if you remember this. Jog my memory. Weren't there something similar to this, but they were in cubes, and you could get multiple of them, and they could like be like little houses, and like your little character would go into each thing.
I have no idea what that is. Okay. I'm trying to think. I'm reaching into my, the back recesses of my brain, and I'm not coming up with anything.
I got nothing. Just cobwebs and old chicken nuggets.
What my brother and I had were these things called scanners, where you could like raise and battle monsters by running around and scanning barcodes on things.
I remember seeing commercials for that.
Yeah,
that is
super
actually
cool.
Intriguing.
Yeah,
that sounds cool.
I would own one of those today if possible.
Well, nowadays, you know how it would be. It would be tied to, you'd put in your information, you'd be scanning these barcodes, and then a week later, you'll be getting ads for those things you scanned.
That already happens on my phone as it is. I think they could.
What's the difference?
Sure, they could do that. Like make scanners instead of buying a new handheld thingy. Just make it an app. Right, just a game on your phone, and you can go around with your phone's camera and scan barcodes, and they activate monsters. Because that's what it used to be. Because also the barcodes had like items, so you wouldn't be able to heal your darn like team, your own monster or whatever, unless you found a healing barcode. And half the time you didn't know what was going to heal you, or if you're going to get jumped by another monster.
That's actually a really great idea because, these AR apps are really successful, like the Pokemon one. There's still a huge fan base for that game, which surprises me, but it's true. They're still there. Like that kind of thing. And you can do it with your friends. That would be super cool. Yeah. Maybe we should look. Maybe it does exist.
Bring back scanners. Make it an app. I don't think it exists, but make it exist, world.
This will be a fun one. Video game consoles. I know two I want to say immediately.
Yeah,
I want to say the NES and the PS2.
Okay. Because this is my issue. If it's Mount Rushmore, I go Atari.
Okay, yeah, Atari, yes, the 2600. That changed. That was the beginning of it all, really.
And then the NES, you're right. I love the PS2. The PS2 is probably the greatest PlayStation console made. Like for what it was at the time, it was a beast of like not necessarily like, the load times were god awful. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows the PS2 load times were god awful, but the library of games you could play, the popularity of the console, etc., was amazing. But there's such a legendary history behind the PlayStation 1 being developed at all, and the fact that console halfway through its life is what invented the DualShock controller that the PS2 would actually launch with. I think I would put the PlayStation 1 on Mount Rushmore personally.
Oh,
now I agree.
Man.
I love the PS2. I'm right there with you, but the whole fact that the PlayStation 1 was also invented as basically a giant FU to Nintendo, because Nintendo actually fronted most of the funding to R&Ding the PS1 and then dropped them. And Sony's like, we're going to do it anyway.
It's actually a really interesting story that I recommend you guys look into. Even if you're not into video games, it's an interesting industry story. Because do you remember hearing a few years ago, like the one like prototype console version of like the Sony Nintendo console like was found? You hear about
really?
that?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, there's like one that was like made, and obviously I'm pretty sure it's like in a museum as it should be. But like, yeah, it would I think it just kind of came out of nowhere, but you should look into that. I can't think what it was called, but it's like whatever they made one prototype console when they were working together. Which I think is really is a cool part of video game history. I mean, honestly, if you go from the historical standpoint, I'm going to agree with PS1 because it changed the game in so many ways. No pun intended. I was thinking PS2. Well, I'm a little biased because I like the PS2 better. But also, though, you can't deny, the PS2 is still, to this day, in terms of sheer numbers, the most popular console. It is still the highest sold console of all time.
It's so like insane. Yeah.
Like it's still the number one sold like home console. So that I'm thinking by sheer cultural impact. I mean, a lot of people bought it, so that's something to think about too.
For cultural impact, I see where you're going with that, but it's kind of like it's the Mount Rushmore.
I see
right?
where you're going
with
like,
one. You
too.
know, without the one, there wouldn't have been the two. So it's kind of like it's really hard to. For me, it's really hard to say the PS2 would be on Mount Rushmore over PS1, but I don't know. I think that's a really hard argument to make because the PS2 was a lot of people's first PlayStation. Because again, it sold more than anything.
Right.
Hard argument to make there.
So, but then again, I'm okay. I mean, especially like historically speaking, I kind of like your idea. You kind of sold me on that. Without one, you wouldn't, the classic, the PS1 walked so the PS2 could run or whatever, right? But the PS1 had to happen, right? So I would say that. So we got the NES, we got the Atari for sure, then you got the PS1.
And then the Ouya.
The Ouya. One of our friends had the Ouya.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think I watched him play it once, and he probably only played it once. What a time.
The Ouya, I feel like really did have promise. It just didn't deliver, which was really sad. But
yeah. Now, fourth console. Do we put an Xbox console in there?
I feel like if we don't, someone's going to come after us.
Well, and I will say this. Halo was a cultural phenomenon in the early days.
Yeah. And
it really changed the game for like futuristic shooters. Really for shooters in general at the time. I mean, but like when I think of the Xbox though, when I think of the most iconic console, I don't think of the first one. I think of the 360. But maybe once again I'm biased because I loved the 360. I don't know. I mean, do you have any strong thoughts on this? I know, like, you weren't a huge Xbox guy.
I feel like it's again. I kind of come back to the PS1, PS2 thing a little bit. I would almost put just the regular Xbox because it's Microsoft's first foray into really competing as a console. Introduces Halo, introduces a lot more like big mature titles onto the industry because like Nintendo was kind of like family friendly. The PlayStation, especially moving on to the PS2, once you get to the Xbox era, the PS2 was a lot more like teen rated stuff. They were getting a little edgier. Xbox came in with a lot more like rated M games and T games.
That's true.
For me, I lean towards the original Xbox as the big shakeup on the industry because now the two biggest consoles at war are the PlayStation and the Xbox. It's not even Nintendo. Nintendo does fine, but it doesn't sell the units like Xbox and PlayStation does. So the fact that,
especially at that time.
Yeah, right. The fact that Xbox dropped the original Xbox and then became such a competitor, I kind of lean towards the original. But the 360, kind of like what you said with the PS2, the 360 was so impactful for so many people, and I think sold so much better. You kind of go back and forth. If it were me, it's the PS1 and it's the original Xbox on my Mount Rushmore, but I see the argument for the 360 and the PS2.
Right. Well, you know what? I kind of once again like the idea of the original because, man, I love talking about video games because the original Xbox, you know, you're kind of right with the look of it. It was kind of like this isn't their idea. Was like we're not your grandma's game console, right? You know, we you know this should be taken seriously, and it did have a big splash on the market in that way.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't sell nearly as much. As like the 360 did, for example, or whatever. But I think for that reason alone, once again, we're going by impact. It doesn't have to be numbers. So I would say that's fine. I think that's a solid group. I mean, that's all like originating consoles, right? So we got the NES, which changed the game at the time. We got the Atari, which started the game. And then we have the PlayStation, which changed it again. And then the Xbox. I think that's a solid list right there.
The only thing we would be missing if there could be a fifth head on Mount Rushmore would be the cultural phenomena that was the Game Boy in the mobile gaming market.
Yeah, handheld, yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, we already have an NES up there. I think we're all right.
Right. Handhelds would be an interesting one because I mean, oh, man, I wish I put that on here now. Okay, how about this? Let's do one more.
Okay.
I said that like I had a point to make, but I was just saying let's do one more. I don't know why I said it like that.
Hang on.
Let's do one more.
I have a proposal. Let's do one more. That's it.
It's just like, is he going on? All right, pick a random item. Let's see. One more. That one just repeated itself. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. Board games.
Monopoly.
Monopoly has to be one.
I love...
Yeah, for sure.
Especially as a kid. I loved Monopoly as a kid. I still like Monopoly now. I know it's a bit divisive for some people to play.
Sure. It's a classic. It always goes on forever. But yeah, that's got to be on there. Board games. I mean, like, this might sound kind of silly, but maybe not. What about like we got to represent like a very simple kids board game too, like your Chutes and Ladders or Candylands or something like in that realm because those were huge.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I remember playing both of them.
I own those two.
Well, because like when I think board games, when I think classic like Mount Rushmore board games, I was leaning Monopoly and Life.
Life. Oh, another good one. I didn't even think about Life.
Right.
Yeah, got to put Life on there.
And then, like you said, with the kids games like Candyland, I owned Candyland. Chutes and Ladders, I think I owned a Chutes and Ladders game. That or I played it somewhere, so I know I've played it. Those are both very classic. I don't even remember what you do in Candyland. Are there there's no cards, right? You just spin and go, right?
I think there are cards, but like each card is a color, and then you go to that next adjacent color.
Okay.
Right?
I don't even remember how to play Candyland. It's been a long time. I know it's supposed to be a simple game. I just don't remember.
I think between Candyland and Chutes and Ladders, my heart tells me that Candyland is more important.
You think so?
But maybe that's just because I played it more. But I played Chutes and Ladders too. I don't know.
I feel like...
What else? Okay, so...
Chutes and Ladders might be more culturally significant because I think there's... I might be speaking on my butt, but I feel like I've heard of Chutes and Ladders called different things in different countries or cultures. Because there's also like... I don't remember. Like instead of Chutes and Ladders, it's like snakes and something or whatever. And then there's this...
Oh, yeah!
And then there's this whole thing about it being an allegory... Also for like virtue and sin in some cultures, because if you like fall from grace, you literally go down the board, and if you like rise it. So there's a bunch of allegories in some of the games depending on what culture. I feel like Chutes and Ladders has been around in a lot of different cultures for a really long time, even if it's been in different forms. I might be speaking on my butt a little bit here, but I think it's got a weird history.
Well, it definitely has been repurposed with different items, which says something in its own right. It's clearly an effective game enough to where there's the snakes and something. It's like snakes and rats. It's not rats, obviously.
Whatever it was, I don't remember. Maybe it was ladders again. Snakes and ladders. I don't know. Snakes
and ladders. That really might be. Okay, I think let's put that. I'd say we can put that on there.
Sure.
What about Scrabble?
Oh,
does that count, or is that kind of? You know what I mean? Scrabble's kind of its own thing.
A little bit, but I mean, it counts. It's in its genre, and it's more of a puzzler, thinker type game.
Yeah.
I like that. I like Scrabble.
I mean, I think it sits up there, though, with those other ones.
And that is another classic one that I'm trying to think how to describe Scrabble in a way that puts it on Mount Rushmore. It's a board game that breaks the traditional board game mold of move a pawn around a board. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have a board, but you're putting tiles down. So you think of something like the popularity of like Mahjong, which doesn't have a board at all, but you're putting tiles down. So I feel like Scrabble is that sort of a tile game, but it's in the board game genre.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think, because I think of like any other like pawn related games, I just don't think quite are as big. Like you think of like your Saris or your
Headache.
I don't know that one.
Oh, Headache's another classic one. You have to look at that one.
I will.
You pop a little dome to make the dice roll.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. I do. There's like a bunch of dice in there, right?
I can't remember if it's like one or two. It's not a bunch. But yeah, look into Headache.
Oh, wait a second. Hold on. No. Well, this isn't a board game. Never mind. Because I was about to bring up Yahtzee, but that's not a board game. That's like
a dice game.
It's a dice game.
Yeah, there's no way around it. Yahtzee's a dice game. Definitely not a board game.
Yeah. Because now, if this were tabletop games, this would be a different story. But this is board games.
Yeah.
So.
If you're doing board.
Yeah,
games.
I would say Monopoly, Chutes and Ladders. What was that third one?
Life.
Yep, that's a classic. And then, God, I am bad with my short-term memory. What was the one we just said? Oh, Scrabble.
I was about to say, I don't know.
I think that's a solid Mount Rushmore there.
I like it.
All right. Well, that was fun, Weston. I thought, like I told you, super laid back, but always fun to talk about that stuff and try and look at things from that perspective, not from your personal favorites, but from what we view, at least in our world, from our perspective, what we think the most prominent cultural kind of impact these things had. So that was fun.
Yeah, everybody at home, if you're listening and want to add your 2 cents about what you think belongs on the Mount Rushmore, like if you have a disagreement, we do have a Twitter at Profoundish Pod. You can tweet at us or leave a comment on our YouTube channel. Look for Profoundish.
Yeah, definitely. Hop in the comments on YouTube. Go to Twitter. Weston will be manning that, but he will because he's a good boy. And I believe Weston's still in that. You're in the Twitterverse still, right? You're still out there tweeting your thoughts.
I'm still out there Twittering.
As the kids do.
Yeah.
He's not the only one. There's still plenty out there. I'm only saying that because I feel like if I touched it now, I'd be so scared, like if everything's changed.
Twitter's changed, but it always changes. Twitter's always... Twitter is a disaster no matter when you come in.
Just a disaster, and the disaster changes over time. But yeah, honestly,
everyone pretends Twitter is a disaster now, guys. It has always been.
I can attest to that because I did play the game for a long time, and yeah, it's a disaster. That being said, yeah, let us know. We would love to kind of hear the conversation continued on. But while you're in those places, after that, definitely leave us any reviews if you're in a place where you can do that, such as Apple Podcasts. Leave a subscription. Go and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on the social media platforms or rate us on Spotify. There's many ways to show us that you like what we do, and it helps our show grow. And we love this show, and we'd love to see it continue to grow and continue these conversations with you. Weston, where can people find you?
Usually at my house.
Okay, what's your address?
All right, here we go. No, you can find me if you want to say hi at on Twitter at Weston Hasty. If you want to watch some gaming vids, I do that. Magic Man Mo on YouTube. You want to read some poetry, hastylymadedecision.com. For anything else in between that I have forgotten, just go to my website, westonhasty.com.
I'm gonna steal your way of explaining that because I liked it. Also, I'll do it in my own way.
Okay.
If you like nostalgic content, watch my medleys on YouTube. I do TV show theme song medleys. So if you like nostalgic stuff, do that. If you like singer-songwriter music that tells kind of stories about very specific moments in the human condition, listen to my own music. I have an album called Songs from Sangamon Street that's streaming everywhere. So you can go to YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you want for that. If you like more podcasts, I'm going to actually, since you forgot yours, I'll plug yours first. If you like more podcasts, go listen to Weston's podcast called A Hasty Podcast.
Sure.
If you like podcasts Weston's does this too, but I'm going to plug mine a little more because it's mine, of course, where you can just kind of laugh and learn funny stuff, but also learn a little bit too. Listen to the Two Piece podcast. It's me and my significant other, Steph, and we go over our top 5s of random topics, then usually kind of learn something that kind of pertains to the topic at hand. In our most recent episode, at least as of recording this, it's going to be a little bit older now once you listen to it, but we did an episode on movie theaters, or not on movie theaters, on most overrated movies, and we actually kind of break down the interesting, complicated relationship between movie theaters and popcorn, and it's actually more interesting than you think. So that's a fun story. But anyway, listen to that. But that's enough. You already heard about where you can find Profoundish. We're going to go. And Weston's going to go lay an ice pack on his forehead and sprawl it all out. I think I'm going to go probably play some Tears of the Kingdom because, of course, as a Zelda fan, as you can imagine, I've been playing that.
Playing video games and things.
As if there's been so many recording sessions where Weston, not so many, but some where he's like, I lost track of time. I was playing whatever game you were playing at the time.
If I lost track of time, it's often Stellaris.
Man, as soon as I'm done with Zelda, I'm probably going to get back into Stellaris because that was a really fun time sink for a while. And I was just really sinking my teeth into it, and then I stopped. So I got to get back into that.
I got into The Sims again here
eventually,
lately.
One game at a time.
We'll talk about that later because we're at the end of our podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, goodbye.
Wash your hands.
Wash your feet. Some people don't. They just let the water run,
Yeah, wash your feet.
Wash your feet.
That's
really get into the toenails. Scrub the bottom of your feet.
Scrub the bottom of your toenails.
Actually, take care of that athlete's foot that you've been ignoring for 3 weeks.
Carl, we're talking to you.
Carl.
All right, goodbye.
Russell. Stabbing people kills people.